Well, good morning. I'm trying to see if there's anybody logged in live to the Hangout, and I can't tell for sure, but if you are here, welcome. Please leave a comment in the chat if you are here so I know who's on live and who's not. I'm going to leave a welcome message for you here so you see where to enter it. All right, just give me 1 second and then we're going to get started. Trying to get the comments up on my laptop here and it's not working right. All right, well, I'm going to go ahead and get started. So my name is Susan Joy Schlief, and I want to welcome you to Creative Marketing TV, launching for another year, 2016. This is our first episode of the new year. So welcome, and I hope you had a good holiday season. This time, this year, I'm going to be expanding the number of interviews. I was doing about once a month last year, and now I'm going to try to go to once a week. So we're going to have more interviews with more guests, and I'm still reserving one Saturday a month to do a training session, and that's what we're doing today. We're going to look at some PowerPoint techniques that you can use to create a personal slideshow to enhance and activate your goals for 2016. Now, you probably know, like, that many people set New Year's resolutions and then before the end of January even they've given up on them, right? In fact, it's such a common problem that on the Holiday Insights website, where they have all kinds of different unusual holidays that you can celebrate, they actually have a day, I think it's January 17th, if I remember right, that the name of that holiday is Ditch Your New Year's Resolutions Day. So I'm hoping that if you set up a personal slideshow like this, you can avoid celebrating Ditch Your New Year's Resolution Day on the 17th. And some of the reasons why this slideshow can help is that your subconscious brain really is the part that needs to help you achieve these resolutions, right? You need to get that part of your brain engaged in the goals that you've set, because that's the part that really controls our behavior. So if you don't have that part of your brain on board, then it could be defeating everything that you say you want to do. Hold on a second. I just realized I didn't set up my mic here right. I had it too far away. So hopefully you can hear a little better with it closer now. So yeah, we want to get our subconscious brain involved in the goal process, in achieving those goals, because it controls our behavior. So even though we say we want to do one thing, our subconscious may be trying to keep us from doing that because it thinks it's too risky, it thinks it's not going to work anyway, it's too boring, it's not safe because we've never done it that way before, all the subconscious excuses that we come up with. So some ways that we can reach our subconscious brain are through the use of pictures, stories, music, and emotions. So we're going to try and incorporate as many of those as we can into our slideshow. And then repetition, of course, is a big part of it as well. So let me go ahead and open up my PowerPoint and share that with you. And we'll get started creating some slides. I'll take a sip of my tea first. By the way, another holiday this month, all month, it's hot tea month. So I'm having some Earl Grey tea to celebrate hot tea month. And I'm having it in my favorite cup here. I don't know if you can see that. It says, "Do something creative every day." And it's from one of my favorite stores, the Paper Source. So have a sip here. All right. Let's get started with our PowerPoint. Give me a second to share my screen. There'll be a little bit of a delay in between when I say something and when you hear it. So I'll give you a second to catch up. And usually I can show this on my laptop so I can see what you're seeing, but for some reason it's not working right today. All right, so the first thing I want to do here, and normally I would add a title for the beginning of my slideshow, but I'm not going to worry about the title today. We're just going to worry about setting up the slides with the goals and affirmations on them. I think for today, I'm going to use affirmations because it's not going to be particularly helpful for you to see my goals for the year. But the affirmations will be something you might want to use as well. So what I'm going to do first is change the layout of my slide to the way that I would use it for all the rest of the slides, not the title slide. So to do that, I go to right up here to the layout, and I'm using PowerPoint 2013. So if you have an earlier version, it might be a little different. I'm going to use the slide layout that's title only. And then you have two choices. And in the written instructions that I sent to some of you that registered in advance, I give you instructions for how to import all of your quotes and get them all in here at once. But that's more complicated than we can go through in the short demo this morning. So what I'm going to do is just copy an affirmation from a Word document, and then I'll paste it into the slide. Click there, and I'm using Control V to paste. And so there's our first affirmation. And then we want to find a picture to go with it. And I have some pictures that I've saved in a folder, but let me show you how we would go and search for one on a website. We can use Insert, Picture. Picture will take you to the folders on your computer. And if you use Online Pictures, it will bring up this changed about a year ago, so if you haven't done this recently, it's going to look different. It takes you to a Bing image search. Bing, of course, is Microsoft's search engine. And you can type in the topic here. I'll just type in success and search. And what it does is it searches against a number of different websites that use Creative Commons licenses. It explains here. And it will show you, as you hover your mouse over each one, it will show you at the bottom what website they're from. Some of them are going to require attribution. The ones that I know do not require that are all the ones from Pixabay are public domain images, so you don't need to give attribution. Open clip art as well is public domain, so we could use this one, or this first one is from Pixabay. You can see that at the bottom. Let's see what else we have. See, I would avoid using ones like this where looks like it's just from somebody's website and you have no idea what the permissions are on those images, because they probably downloaded it from somewhere and they don't know what the permissions are either. So I would stick to using reputable image sites like Pixabay, Wikimedia Commons, Open Clip Art. I think I'll use this one here from Open Clip Art. And let's move it down. We're going to need to make it a little smaller. Or the other thing we could do is make a little space in between there for the arrow to stick up between the text. So let me just add some extra spaces to move the author's name over, and then that works. Our arrow can come up right in between there. Now the other thing I would probably do is use a colored font here that matches one of the colors in this picture. So to do that, I'm selecting the whole text box, and that selects all the text inside of it. And then I'm going to come up here and click on the font color tool, and I'm clicking on the arrow next to it to select a color. And in this case, because I want it to match what's on the screen, I'm going to use the eyedropper tool. Excuse me. And this is not available in earlier versions. So if you are using PowerPoint 10 or 2010 or 2007, you might not have this. But there are some third-party eyedropper tools you could use. In the newer version, 2013 and 2016, you can use the eyedropper. And then we just select, let's use this green here. It's actually not real dark. If we bold it, that helps. All right, let me put this into slideshow mode for a second and we'll see what that looks like. Yeah, there we go. We have one slide done already. Then I'm going to add a new slide. Title only. Let me go grab another affirmation. This one's not exactly an affirmation. It's more like a reminder. And let's see, I think I'll put a clock on there. That would work well with that text. So let's try the other method now. I'll do insert, picture, and I'm going to go to the folder on my computer where I have all my Pixabay photos stored. You probably can't see this as I'm drilling down through the folders because the Hangout only shows one window at a time when I share it. So you'll just have to be patient while I go grab a picture. All right, I think this one will do. Let me shrink that down a little. Okay, that looks pretty good the way it is. Let me add a couple more here quickly, and then I'm going to start showing you some things you can do with the transitions and animations. I want to show you a couple of other variations of how you may want to lay out your slide. Now this one you can see that when I pasted it in there, the text shrunk a little bit because it's too much text for the size of the text box. So if I expand that text box a little bit, then it will increase the font size again. And that's actually quite a bit of text, but I like that reminder, so I'm going to leave it. My job is to deliver a great presentation, regardless of whether the prospect chooses to take action on my offer. I like to remember that because then if somebody decides they're not interested in what we're talking about, I don't take it so personally. You know, I figure, okay, I presented this the best that I can. If they're not interested, then that's fine. I'll just move on to the next person. All right, let's find a picture maybe of somebody giving a presentation. Let me see what I have out here in my folders. That's kind of busy. But you know what? We'll use it. I'll show you a little trick we can use. First, I'm going to stretch it out to fill the whole slide. Now, you might be thinking you lost the affirmation behind there, and that's true. But what we'll do is right-click on the picture and send it to the back. And now our text is on the top again, but it's very difficult to read against that background, right? So here's a little trick I like to use. I'm going to drag this all the way up to the top and to the corner, and then I'm going to stretch that box across the whole slide. And I have the text box selected. I know it's probably going to be really hard for you to see on the Hangout because it's hard for me to see even on my own screen here. I'm going to right-click that text box. Nope, that's not the right thing. There we go. And I'm going to choose Format Shape with the text box selected. And I'm going to put a fill in that text box. I'm going to use a solid fill. And I'm going to change it to white. And then I'm going to take this transparency slider here and move it over a little bit so you can still see a little bit of the background through the text box, but not enough to distract us from being able to read the slide. Now, for different pictures, you might need to go a little more transparent. This one, because the background's so busy, I'm going to leave it at just 12% transparency. You can see a little bit of the shape of the person through there and a little bit of the text behind it. Okay, then I think the other thing I'm going to do here is select this text and choose a bolder font, like maybe Impact. That will help it to stand out as well. And let's go a little bit bigger with it. And I think I'll center it instead of left justified. You know, I'm not sure that I like that. It still is awfully busy with all those words on there. But that, so I might look for another picture eventually for that that's not quite so busy. But this is a good technique. I end up using this quite a bit, where you can make the text box partly opaque so that the whole picture doesn't show through. All right, let me add another slide here. I think we'll do one more, and then I want to show you a little bit about animations. All right, closing is simply the natural conclusion to a well-delivered presentation. You know what? Maybe I'll use this picture for that one, because that's not so long and hard to read. Let's do this. I'm going to duplicate this slide, and then I'll copy this text into here. Oops, that changed my font back. Yeah, that's better. All right, then on this one, I'll bring in a different, so we're going to get rid of this. I'm going to delete this slide and then keep this version with the shorter affirmation. And then let me grab a different one to use for this. I'll center that one. All right, let's see, what do we want to put in here for a picture? It's a little hard to think of how to represent it. Oh, I have an idea. Let me see here. It's maybe not the greatest, but it'll do for now. And besides, it lets me demonstrate another idea that you can use for laying out the slides. So I'm going to move this over. Now, actually, I can demonstrate a couple things for you here. Because if we stretch this out across the slide, we end up with a very distorted head, right? So we don't want to do that. Let me undo that. What we'll need to do is stretch it from the corner. Let me zoom out a little bit here so that we have space to do this. So if we grab from the corner instead, then it keeps it in proportion, right? So I'm going to stretch this all the way until the bottom of the neck comes to the bottom of the slide. And we could crop this off, but we don't really need to, because once I go into slideshow mode, it's going to cut off that part anyway. And then I want to do the same thing at the top. And I'm going to go until it meets the side of the slide over here. Actually, I might go a little bit further and see if I can get the arm over there without cutting off part of the head. No, that's not going to work. You can see through it a little bit to see where the top of the slide is. You can go maybe a little further at the bottom here. All right, let's see now when we go into slideshow mode. Yeah, that's pretty close. We got a little strange colored strips over here. I guess I could go a little bit closer to the top there without cutting off the top of the head. All right. Now I am going to go ahead and crop these at the top and bottom just so that you can see as I'm working on the slide what we're doing. Otherwise it gets a little confusing when it's extending beyond the side of the slide. Okay. Now, once again, I need to put the picture to the back. And then I'm going to bring this text box over to the side here so that it's in the blank space. And let's change that to a different font as well. I like this Apple Paint. It's a little different. Okay, let's see how that looks. Oops, squished over a little too far to the side there. Actually, I think that's because of the way my screen is zoomed. Oh, no, I see. I stretched it beyond the edge of the slide when I did that. All right, that should be okay now. All right, so we have 4 slides. Let's see what they look like when we put it in slideshow mode. Whether you think you can or think you can't, you're right. Focus on 20% of tasks that will produce 80% of my results. Closing is simply the natural conclusion to a well-delivered presentation. Where attention goes, energy flows. All right. Obviously, we would do more than just 4 slides if we were putting together a whole slideshow, but I want to show you a couple of other techniques before we wrap up here. The easy way to add some animation to your slideshow excuse me, is to use transitions, which ends up looking like an animation, but they're really easy to set up. So we're going to go to the transition tab or menu, and you can choose a particular one. I think for right now, let's see, I think there's a way to, I thought there was a way to do a random. Let me see. Yeah, here, random. So it will just select for us. So now let's watch our slideshow and see what happens. Oh, sorry, I forgot to apply it to all the slides. It just did the first one. All right, we're going to apply to all. Now let's watch it again. Okay, and see each one was slightly different. So you could go in and pick particular ones that you want to use and apply it between between each slides, or apply the same one to all if you want. But to make things fast for this demo, we're just going to use the random. Now the other thing we want to do is look at adding music. And boy, we don't have a lot of time left to do that, but let's see if we can get some music in here. So we're going to go to the Insert menu, or Insert tab, and come over to Audio. Oh, wait a second, that's not right. I apologize, it's been a while since I did this. And this is one of the things that changed quite a bit in 2013 compared to earlier versions. Oh. Let me just look it up quick in the help. Oh, it is audio on my PC. Okay. Play in background. Okay. So I was on the right track. I thought this was for recording your voice, but apparently it's both. Okay. Let me grab a music track that, if you're just using this on your own computer, you're not showing it to anybody else, you can just grab any MP3 that you have. Because I'm demonstrating this, I want to make sure I use something that I have the rights to use. So let's, this is one that I like, or this one. All right, so now we've got the music selected. I'm going to select play in background. And we're going to, and we already have it marked here to play across slides. We want to start it automatically. If we didn't want to do that, you have some other options here to start on click. And we can rewind after playing and start it over. We want to loop the music until stopped if the music is too short for the number of slides. But in this case, of course, the music's going to be longer than the slides. All right, let's try it and see what happens. I don't know if you'll be able to hear the music. Huh, and it doesn't seem to be playing anyway. You know, this is always a little tricky for me, this one. Well, I did give you the instructions, so if you did not get that yet, please leave a message for me and I'll send those instructions to you. And I have it spelled out in a lot of detail in there for earlier version of PowerPoint. I think I did that for 2007 and for 2010. The instructions are in there. I have not written the instructions yet for 2013 and 2016. That's one of the things that I'm going to be working on next month, is updating the workshop that I did a couple years ago about creating these personal slide presentations, going over more detail about the techniques I showed you this morning. We'll look at more demonstrations of different ways to use animation on the slides, different transitions. And one of the things I didn't mention on the transitions is you can, right now I'm just clicking through the slides, but you can also set it to go on a timer. And that's actually how I would do it if I were going to watch this slideshow every morning. I would set the timer for each slide. So instead of going on click, we're going to make it go after a certain number of seconds. And then on this one, we'll do the same thing. If you have one that's particularly long, you can change the timing, you know, to make it longer for that slide. Or if you have a short one like this, maybe you only need 3 seconds for that instead of 5. And now, if I play the slideshow, I'm not going to click, and it will still advance automatically when it gets to that 5-second mark. And this one, again, will go 5 seconds, and then this one. So part of what you want to do then with the music is figure out what the timing has to be for the slides in order to make them last across the whole time of the music. And I explained in the handout how I calculate that to, you know, adjust the timing on the slide transitions to match with the music. So that's something that I am going to update that training and go into more detail about that, about using different kinds of music tracks and how to calculate the timing for that. And I'm also going to talk in that training about how to add a voiceover. For instance, if you wanted to record the goals or affirmations in your own voice and have that appear on the slideshow in addition to the music, I'll give you the instructions for how to do that. Plus, everything's going to be updated for the new versions, like I said, for 2013 and 2016. as well as I'll leave the 2007 and 2010 in there too. So I'm expecting that to be finished sometime in February. I'm going to charge $67 for that as a self-study program. In addition to all of those demonstrations and instructions, I'm also going to show a couple of case studies about different ways that you can use this type of slideshow. It's great for a personal slideshow like we're talking about this morning, but you can also use this exact technique that we're doing here to create content slideshows about your business to put out on your website or to turn it into a video. Saving this whole thing now as a video is very easy. Once you have everything done, all you do is go to File, Save As. I'm going to keep it in the same, oh, let's see, I don't have a folder. I'll put it on the desktop. And then what I do is just change the file type, Save As Type, and we're going to save it as an MP4. Or if you're only going to watch it on a Windows machine, you could use a Windows Media video. But if you're going to share it with other people, you'll want to make it an MP4. And you just change that file type, and then it will produce it as a video. It takes a bit of time, though, so I'm not going to do that right now. We'll cancel out of that. So I'm going to give you some examples of how you could use that to create a little tips video or some kind of a training video. Maybe you have a blog post that you've written and you would like to turn that into a video. You can use this same technique with the title slides and the pictures to create videos for your content marketing. So I'll have a number of examples in that training. So if you would like to get access to that training, I'm going to make you a special offer right now. If you want to buy ahead of time, even though it's not going to be ready till February, you can get 60% off, $27 instead of $67. And what I'll give you in the meantime is access to the training that I created back in 2012 for the older version of PowerPoint. And then you'll get access to the newer one next month when it's finished. So if you are interested in that, just either send me an email or message me on Google Plus or on Facebook, and I'll send you the link to get signed up for that and submit your payment. So I don't see any questions. I'm going to go ahead and wrap up here. Let me close, stop sharing and get back on camera here. I know that was a quick demo, but hopefully you learned a few things. And if you, let's see. Okay, there we go. And if you have those written instructions that I sent you, if you didn't get them, I sent them in Google Plus. So you should have gotten a direct message from me with the slideshow instructions attached. And like you said, if you're interested in getting access to the old recording and then the new one when it comes out, just message me or email me and I'll get you signed up for that. This recording should be ready probably by tomorrow or maybe even later tonight. So you'll have this one to watch as well. All right, and thanks for watching. I hope your New Year's off to a great start and that you'll be able to use this slide affirmations to keep yourself on track and actually achieve those goals you've set for yourself. I wish you a happy and successful 2016.